y'all, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Lauren Haven here at the Nail Haven, and today we're going to be doing this beautiful pink and green flower very whimsical design. So I will be doing it on 4 different shapes and lengths. We got short square, medium square, long square, and medium almond, and this is just all of the nails that I have out. So if you're new here, I do have a separate video that I may explain in what I do for my base application. So I don't really talk about it in my videos anymore because I felt like it was getting repetitive. But if you go check out my channel, you can find it there. But like I said, we are going to be doing 4 different nail sets. The one that I'll be showing the design on will be medium square, but I did include what they all will look like once done on the different shape and lengths at the end of the video. So if you want to skip to that, you can. But yeah, I'm just going in base coat, builder gel, and then the base colors. And yeah, I'll let y'all watch this part. Like I said, if you're interested in a more in-depth base tutorial, you can go check out my video based on that. And yeah. Okay, so we went ahead, finished putting our base down, got our color down. We're going to go in with a buffer and buff the surface of the nail. This step is optional. I prefer buffing the nail. Well, it's optional in some occasions, but for this design, we are going in with chrome, and I like to buff the surface with my isolated chrome. I know that y'all see that the pinky design is already done. That's because I started doing the nails on live and forgot to set aside a stand so I can do it on YouTube for y'all. So yeah, the pinky is already done, but I did do a design showing y'all how to do it still. But yeah, I'm just going in, I'm going to wipe off the dusty dust, and then we're going to start our design. So I'm going to go in with black gel polish mixed with top coat. I'd say do 2 things black and 1 thing top coat, if that, like the mixture ratio. And then when you do cure it, you'll cure it for 60 seconds. So I'm just going in, mixing that up, and then drawing my French tip. I did do the design for the pinky on the thumb for certain nails because I make 20 and 30 piece nail sets, and trying to do 3D flowers on however many fingers that is, it's very time consuming. So I try to go in and find like matching designs that I can fill in those missing 3D designs or something. I don't know how to explain it. Hopefully I'm explaining it right. But yeah, so I'm just going in, doing my French tip, and then filling it in, and we're going to cure that for 60 seconds. And then the chrome powder that we're going to be using is green, and we're going to use that. It came in a pack that I got off of Amazon, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm just going to rub that in. If you're noticing that it doesn't seem like it's sticking, try using your finger, and I believe the warmth from your finger will kind of help it stick better. That's what I did. And it worked when it wasn't sticking with the applicator. So after I do that, we're going to go in and base coat the nail because we don't want that chrome to get accidentally smudged off when we're doing any other nail design. And you just want to protect basically the chrome, in other words. And we're going to cure that for 30 to 60 seconds. It's totally up to you. I do both. It doesn't really matter, to be honest with you. But once we cure, we're going to go in with our rhinestone glue and apply our little gold pearls. I got this one off of Amazon, but I noticed that I got this one because it had more of the pearls in it. The original one that I had didn't have a lot of pearls, but I also noticed that their smallest pearl was bigger than my first pack that I ordered. So yeah, but anyway, I don't know why I felt like that was important for y'all, but yeah. So I'm just going in, putting those pearls down, and then we're going to flash cure them into place. And then if you see like a black jar with gel in it, it is rhinestone glue mixed with top coat. And I will be filming a video on how to make this and what I did to make it. But, oh, well, in this part, I just went in on top of them with rhinestone glue. But what I'm trying to explain is basically, I like to go over those pearls because they will change colors. They are painted and not actual gold metal pearls. So they will change colors once rubbed up against stuff. And you have to remember that they are 3D, so they're protruding off the nail. So they're going to be more prone to rubbing up against something and rubbing off the top coat. But if you go in with the rhinestone glue, you can protect it. Add an extra layer of protection on top of it to prevent it from changing colors, in other words. So then Once you get that down, put the rhinestone glue or the rhinestone and top coat mixture down. We're going to top coat for 90 seconds. Put that in the lamp for a good little minute, and then we're going to take that rhinestone glue and top coat mixture to do our 3D line on the nail. So personally, I like to file the tips of the nails before I go on with my 3D lines to make sure that I don't draw the line too low, so that when I do file, I'm ending up like, I don't want to file into the line, if that makes sense. So I'm just going in with my 20mm brush, and you want to make sure that most of the gel is on the tip of the brush, because you want to kind of like drop and drag the gel, and then you're going to cure that, and then that design is done. So next we're going to move on to the ring finger, and this is going to be a green French. I did end up doing the old school French on some of them. The long and the short, no, the long and the medium square got an old school French, and then the medium almond and the short square got regular French tips. But I'm just going in, doing my French tip. We're going to cure that for 60 plus seconds. Make sure everything is nice and fully cured. And then we're going to, I'm still doing this dang on French tip. Hurry up, girl. Gee. Okay, perfect. Now we're going to go in with, I did white. And I added like a little bit of yellow, but we're going to go in with our airbrush machine and airbrush the French tip. And then I'm going to take my cleanup brush and acetone to clean up the airbrush in the places that I don't want it before I flash cure it. And I'm going to do about 2 or 3 layers of the airbrush, and I'm only doing it in the middle because you want it to kind of be like green on the sides and white in the middle. So that's what I'm doing. And then once I flash cure and get it to the design opacity that I want, we're going to go in and we're going to top coat. We're going to top coat because we're going to buff the surface so that we can do our chrome. I tried in the past doing base coat, but I noticed that it always feels weird when I go in and buff. So I've decided to switch to top coating instead. So that when I buff, it just buffs really smoothly. So yeah, we're just going to buff with that same buffer that we used earlier, and then we're going to wipe it off with alcohol. And we're going to use that same black and clear mixture. Now I did run out, so I'm mixing it again for y'all, but we're going to use that same mixture, and we're going to take our liner brush and do print or zebra print. What's the difference? What's the difference between tiger and zebra? I'm gonna have to look that up. But we're just gonna go in and make little squiggly lines on both sides of the nails. We're gonna cure that for 60 seconds. And once we take that out the lamp, we're going to get our gold chrome powder and apply that to the nail. And you just wanna, make sure you're pushing it in so that everything is nice and stuck. And I do add a little bit of a lot to my applicator because I want to make sure that everything gets covered. Okay, then we're going to take our dust brush, dust off the nail, and base coat the nail to protect the chrome so that after we do our next designs, it doesn't mess up the chrome. And then we're going to cure that for 30 seconds, 60 seconds, either one works. Now we're going to go in with our rhinestone glue, and this chain I ended up getting off Shein. In the original inspo picture, the chain was a little bit bigger, so I did have to go in with 2 layers because I didn't like how the one layer of the thin chain looked. So I just go in, drop the rhinestone glue, take my cuticle nippers. Now mind y'all, I only make press-ons. I don't do in-person nails, so I'm comfortable using this to cut the chain. I personally think maybe if you do in-person nails, you shouldn't do this. You might have to have something else or have 2 of them and just, keep one for this part and, one for your actual clients. But I'm just going to go in, lay it down, and cut it to the size that I like. And then I'm going to take my cuticle, my little wooden stick, and fix it up, putting it in the right position that I want it. And then once I get it there, we're going to flash cure. And if there's any excess chain still on the sides of the nail, we're going to use those same cuticle nippers after we cure to cut those off. So I will say, I said this in my last video, I am still trying to figure out my camera settings on my new phone. So I do apologize for being out of frame. I realized you have to be at a certain length of distance for it to stay in focus, or not. You come closer, it's going to go out of focus and it's not going to refocus. It's just a lot. But once I put that chain down and I cured, I'm going to go over top of it with some rhinestone glue so that I make sure to basically encapsulate those chains so that it does not turn colors. Same with the pearls. As y'all see, once I realized, I was not focused. I tried to scoot down. But next we're going to go ahead and move on to the middle finger design, which is a 3D flower. So I'm going to take some solid nail gel glue by McCart, and we're going to roll out these balls. Make sure that you're wearing gloves when you're handling gel products because you don't want to develop a gel allergy. So yeah, do as I say, not as I do. So I'm just going in with 5 little balls. I try to make them the same size. And if you're having troubles with the sculpting gel not sticking, try going in with a layer of base coat and curing that. Because, oh y'all, I didn't record me doing the airbrush for this part. Oh no, I just realized that. I'm so sorry, y'all. But it's just the same. It's just airbrush and then base coat, cure. And then we're going to go in on top of that and do the 3D flower. I do apologize. I'm just not realizing that. But I have a bunch of videos where I do airbrush, so it's nothing special. If y'all want like a specific tutorial on that, I can make sure to drop that for y'all. But right now, I just laid down the balls and I'm sculpting out the petals with my silicone tool. I will say the 2 side ones at the top always give me hell. I'm not gonna lie. They're kind of weird to sculpt. Especially on the nail. I don't know if it's because I'm making my flowers too big or if I should, try making them smaller or whatever, but I always struggle with those ones. They don't look as good as the rest of them do most times, but I'm just going in and sculpting those. Sometimes I'll go in and do it petal by petal instead of like adding them all to the nail at once. But because we were doing so many nails, I was like, girl, just go in and do them all at once so you can save you some time, Bookie. Because I was working on these nails for a couple days because, one, I was kind of tired and I didn't want to do nails for a good little minute. Like a couple days out of the week, last week when I was doing these, I was like, I don't feel like doing nails. And then for the July weekend came and I really didn't feel like doing nails. So it's just like, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, I'm just going to sculpt that and get it to the shape that I like. I don't really care for this flower, but I mean, I tried. So once I get it, like I said, in the shape that I want, we're going to cure that for 60 seconds. And then we're going to take our polish. I like to do 2 colors when I do my flowers. So I do my base color and then I go in on the inner parts and do a lighter color. So I'm just going in with it's not a dark pink. It's like a dark hot pink. But I'm going in with that and I'm going to do a layer of that. And we're going to cure that once we get it all on the nail. And I will go in with 2 layers of the base before I go in with the lighter color. I like to do 2 layers because it kind of makes sure that the flower is opaque and the polish isn't like see-through. So yeah, I like to do 2 layers because some of the flower is protruding up and those parts will be clear sometimes. So I like to make sure to go over it twice. So now I'm going to go on my lighter color and kind of feather it downwards. You don't want to feather it throughout the whole flower, just in the middle portions of the nail and kind of sculpt out each petal. Not sculpt, but like, define each petal. And then you can cure that for 60 seconds. Now, I will say the flower design was a little tedious because of the way we had to do it. But once we cure that, I'm going to go on with my rhinestone glue and place down 2 sets of pearls. Now, I feel like I was making the flowers a little too big because in the original design I made for myself, they were longer. So I could have probably made the flower a little bit smaller on some of the nails so that the pearls at the bottom could look right, or just the pearls could look right in general. But anyway, that's not the point. So yeah, we're just going to go in, place down those pearls. And then once we get them in the design pattern that we want, we're going to flash cure. And we're going to take that gel, the rhinestone glue and top coat mixture, and we're going to go over it with that, once again, like I explained earlier, to protect them throughout, what, Lauren? We want to make sure to protect them for our customers so that they're not changing colors and they're like, oh my God, how did my gold pearls turn green? So yeah, once you do that, we're going to top coat around the flower. You're going to put the glue mixture down and cure. You're going to top coat around the flower. Not on top of the flower, around the flower, okay? And so the reason we're top coating around the flower is because we're going to end up doing gold chrome on the edges of the flower. Now, if there's an easier way to do this part, please let me know. I decided to do this design, like this specific design, after the fact. So I really didn't do any research on how to do it. But yeah, we're going to top coat around the flower and cure that for 60 seconds. And then once we take that out the lamp, we're going to wipe off the flower. I didn't record me doing this, but you want to wipe off the flower with alcohol because you want to remove the sticky layer from the pink polish. And then we're going to go in with our chrome base mixture, the black and top coat, and we're going to flash cure and define those petals like you see me doing here. I'm just going in around each petal, and I'm going to flash cure because I don't want that polish to start to kind of level, I guess. I don't want it to go nowhere it ain't supposed to be going, okay? So that's why I flash cure between each one, and yeah. Alright, so once we take that out the lamp, we're going to go in with our chrome powder and just rub it onto the line that we did. And once we do that, we're going to take our dust brush and dust off any of the excess chrome. And like I said, this design is a kind of tedious when it comes to stuff because we're going to top coat the flower, cure that, wipe the nail off with alcohol because some of the chrome powder does still stick to the top coat. So you're going to wipe that off with alcohol. And then you're going to go in and top coat the entire nail. So can y'all imagine me trying to do that so many different times? That's why I switched out the design and only did 2 of the flowers for each set. So yeah, here's that. Now I'm just going in top coating the rest of the nail, and we're going to cure that for 60 seconds, and then we're done with the middle finger design. So next we're going to move on to the index finger, and I'm going to file before I do this because I want to make sure that the space that I have is the space that I have, and I don't do it in a spot that would have gotten filed at the end. So I file before, and I'm going to go in with my short brush. I'm pretty sure this is probably like an 8 or a 12 millimeter brush. And I'm going to dip it in that rhinestone glue and top coat mixture. Now, I had just mixed this, so you will see it looks kind of cloudy, but that's because there's a bunch of air bubbles in it, and it has not had time to settle and pop all the air bubbles. But yeah, I'm just going in, dipping it, getting a lot of the gel on my brush, and doing this little swirl. And then once I finish that swirl, we're going to cure that and cure for 60 plus seconds. You want to make sure that this is all cured since we are going in with a thick layer. Then for the second part, we're going to go in and drop a dollop down on that side of the nail and then drag it towards our first swirl that we did. You can kind of do whatever design you want to do for this part. It's just basically swirlies with, we're going to put gold chrome on top of them. So you don't have to do exactly what I'm doing here, but if you'd like to, that's the design that I did. I just did a S swirl, and then I did a droplet on the side of it and kind of feathered it out. And then I'm going to flash cure so it doesn't move, and then I'm going to put it in the big lamp and fully cure it so that it can fully cure before we put our chrome down. I will say that I ended up going over top of them with black, that mixture that we did. I know in this clip I didn't do it, but the rest of them I did. I don't know, it's just something about that black base that I like with gold chrome. So like I said, you won't see me do it in this clip, but I did do it for the other ones. So yeah, we're just going to place those down, put our mixture on top of them to make sure they don't tarnish, and then we're going to base coat and top coat. And the design is pretty much done after that, and then we can go ahead and move on to the thumb, which is the last one, y'all. And I ain't gonna lie, this design kind of took me out, but we're gonna do the black French tip with the base. I didn't record me doing that part, but it's the same. We're just doing regular French tip with the mixture and then curing it for 60 seconds and applying our chrome to the nail. Rub-a-dub-dub, rub it in. Once we get it all nice and rubbed in, we're going to base coat and cure that because we're going to be going in with a 3D flower on the side of the nail. And like I said, the gel sticks better to a base coat than it does to a matte surface. Once again, make sure y'all are wearing gloves when handling this product. But I'm just going to go in, roll out 2 decently sized balls, and we're going to flatten it out. The way I like to do these ones was make the top and the bottom of the petal skinny and kind of make the middle of it like spread out, if that makes sense. Hopefully y'all can see what I'm doing in the clip, but yeah, that's kind of how I just sculpted the flower. I didn't do anything special. And it's really not that hard once you get the hang of it. And then once you sculpt it how you want it, you're going to go ahead and put that in a lamp, cure that for 60 seconds. And we're going to go ahead and start polishing it with that same pink we used on the petals for the middle finger. And I'm just going to go in, polish that, do my 2 layers, and yeah. Okay, so now that I've gone in with my color, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing that we did with the middle finger. We're going to top coat around the flower. And remember, we're doing this because we're going to go in with chrome. And like I said, if you have a better way of doing this, please let me know. And I will definitely try that because this one is so time consuming. So it's literally the same design and technique as the middle finger. It's just different petals. Instead of the 5 flowers, we did the 2. So you're literally just repeating the steps that we did for the middle finger onto the thumb. Nothing changed. Same design, same method, same steps, same, yeah. All right, so now that we have all of the nails done, and as y'all can see in the back, y'all can see all 20. When I do my 20-piece sets, most of the time it's actually a 30-piece set or a 24 to 30-piece set. I like to do the design on 20 nails, and then the rest are just regular French tips matching whatever design I'm doing. So for this one, I just did the green chrome French tips for the other nails. And I like to do the designs on the numbers, like the sizes that I know will be used the most. So like the most common sizes. I do have a video on how I make my 20-piece nail sets and how I do that, if you guys want to go check that out. But yeah, I just feel like doing all of the 30 nails with a design on it would cost way too much and would take way too long. So yeah, just going in, filing with my 80 grit file, and then I'm going to smooth out the tip with a 180 grit file to make sure that it's not too rough. Then we're going to go in with our drill and take our 60 grit sanding band, I believe, and etch the insides of the nails. The reason I like to do this is because I want to make sure that, one, we open up those nails. Now, after applying so much product to the nails, they sometimes do, I won't say shrink, but they can kind of tighten up. So I like to go with my e-file to loosen up the nail for one, as well as remove any product that may have slipped under the nail, because you don't want to give your clients any, product with nail polish, gel polish up under it, uncured polish, and all of that. So you want to make sure to remove that. And if it is polish that's seeped up under the nail, it can affect how your client is able to wear the nails, because if they have a lump of polish, it's not going to lay flat to their nail bed. So make sure I'm going in with my e-file and just filing those insides and getting them nice and good. I do like to focus on the cuticle area more, because I like that part to be seamless when you put it on your hands, okay? But yeah, I just do that, and once I do that, I'm gonna take my 180 grit file again, and I'm gonna run the nails up and down it so that I can smooth out any sides of the sides of the nail. I want to do this, I do this step to smooth out the sides of the nails. Basically, another part that you can do if the polish does end up running over the sides of the nails, and just to make sure there's no like rough edges on the nails before I send these off to my clients. I'm just going through and smoothing out the sides. I just literally just run it up and down, up and down, up and down. Alrighty, so once I finish doing that, I'm going to take my dust brush, remove any dust from the insides of the nails, because our next step is to wipe and clean the underside of the nails. I like to clean it with alcohol and then acetone. I use the acetone to kind of blend the etching. When we go in with the e-file, it does look ashy. And so I like to just go with the acetone, because when you do that, it kind of blends it in and it doesn't look ashy. I don't know how the best way to explain it is that. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm just going in with my Q-tip with acetone on it and just getting in that nail and getting that acetone in there. And then once we do that, we're going to grab our nail card. I used to use 4x6 nail cards, but now I use 4x3. The 4x6s were fine. They were just a little too big. Like, if I had a client that had really small nails, like my girl Ivy, she has really small nail beds, and I realized, I'm like, this card is like way too big just to be sending these little nails. So I was like, let me make them smaller to just save on product and save on, whatever I can save on. So now instead of having 100, I can have 200. So yeah, I just made my cards smaller. So if you're used to seeing the big ones, that's all. That's the only difference. So now I'm just going in and organizing the nails on how they're going to lay on the card. And then we're going to take an alcohol wipe to wipe and cleanse the nails down again, just to make sure like there's no gel residue on the nails. Like I said, some people have a gel allergy, and you want to make sure that you're not the reason that people have a breakout, okay? So like I said, just wiping them off again. And also you want to remove any smudges that may have came in the process of fouling or whatever. So I just wipe those off before I put them on the card. Because I make these cards myself, they're made with my thermal printer labels, and they will react to the alcohol. So most of the time, if I try to wipe them while they're on the card will turn black as if it was printing something on it. So yeah, but if you get your cards printed by like Canva or Vistaprint, you can go ahead and just wipe them while they're on the card, which is what I used to do. My new labels seem to not like alcohol. So I'm just going in, placing them down, and then I did end up putting in the clips of what each set looked like after. So here's my short square. Like I said, I did short square, medium square, long square, and medium almond. If y'all have any questions, feel free to ask down in the comment section below. I'll try to push out more videos for y'all. I had recorded a lot of videos and forgot that I still need to record, even though I had a lot of videos saved up. So I do plan on posting more videos soon. Even though I haven't gotten off my schedule, I just did want to warn y'all that it might happen. But anyway, I appreciate y'all for watching my video. Thank you for watching. Ooh, you just said that. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. Check out my other videos. Like I said, if you do have any questions, comment them down below, and I'll make sure to answer them. And I'll see y'all in the next one. I hope you have a great day. A great rest of your day or night, whenever you're watching this. Bye, y'all.